Hi, I'm Xander or Pigeon or whatever you want to call me. I don't really care. And today I'm going to be talking about politics. Okay, before you click off the video to watch epic Roblox roleplay or whatever you guys watch these days, I want to make a few things clear. This is not going to be a typical politics type of video. I mean, it is a little bit, but I hope in a more interesting way. Also, if you see me looking down here, I have my computer. I'm not looking at porn most of the video. Can't promise the whole video. Full disclosure, I'm a leftist, or at least very left-leaning. I'm sure there are some people that would just call me a disgusting liberal. I wouldn't. I feel like I hate Democrats too much to align with that. And many of you are probably thinking, another white guy that wants to be Hassan Piker. Do we really need that? The answer is no, we don't. Bye. I'm kidding, I like the sound of my voice too much to quit that easily. Yeah, I'm also kind of tired of a lot of leftist YouTube essayists where they always do this thing where they're just like, did you guys know that Myron Gaines might be a misogynist? I know. Did you guys know that maybe Sneeko is a little homophobic, and that's not good? And it's easy internet points, it is. I don't blame them for it. But that's just not the type of content I want to do, because I'm kind of annoyed by just people just looking at like misogyny and going, that's misogynistic. We know. And just to make this clear, I don't think making a video about a fringe incel guy with only like 50k subs is also going to be ever good content. Of course, I'm sure people will take this clip later when I inevitably make a video about someone else and be like, aren't you just doing that thing? And you're right, fuck you. The point is, it's very easy to do, very easy to farm clicks off of it, and I don't think you're really breaking any new ground with it. Not saying every YouTube video has to be some sort of groundbreaking video, I guess essay, for lack of a better word, but you know, I guess I'm just different than the other guys. Also, quick side note, that is not like a direct diss towards anyone in specific, although I do have people in mind. Fuck you if you're watching this. I'm kidding, I don't really care that much. So Xander, I hear you beg and plead and drool. It's getting everywhere, it's a little gross, man. How is this video going to be different today, other than the fact that you were dashingly handsome? And thank you, I know. The main difference is that I have a superiority complex, but beyond that, it's really that I don't have a direct person to tear apart here. I'm more just going to be dissecting a phenomenon that I have noticed. I actually started writing this script a while ago, and as you'll see, I've been vindicated since. The majority of the people I'm going to be showing in this video, I'm going to have their names blurred out because I feel like a lot of them just kind of crave attention and they want people to know. Some of them that are more popular, I'm not going to blur because I think you all know who fucking libs of TikTok is. But this is mainly done because I don't want people to go to these accounts that pay for Twitter Blue and then give them more money, because that's the only reason these grifting assholes do it, is to make money and get impressions. But after explaining the context behind the things I show, I'm going to be explaining a larger sociological phenomenon that at least I have noticed. I'm sure it's not something that you haven't noticed. I'm sure it's not. Fuck. The TLDR is, I think I'm really smart and I like the sound of my own voice, except for when I don't. Can you see the stain on my shirt? Why do I have a stain on this shirt? I like this shirt. I'm gonna change out of this shirt. Ooh. Okay, I'm back. I changed my shirt because the last one had a mysterious stain on it. I also put on a chain. His swag stops for no one. Anyways, Twitter used to be one of my favorite just apps in general. I think it has some of the funniest content that I've ever witnessed, and some of the funniest people are on there constantly. And I think the ability to interact with people that are typically unreachable so easily It's a really fun factor for communities in general. And I never really understood why people shat on it so much. I mean, I understood that sometimes it could be awful, but also, like, I don't think a random dickhead of the day is really ruining my day that much. I don't know. Ever since a certain man bought the app, it's gotten a lot worse. Ever since the Walmart version of Iron Man took over, you know, the raid boss of absentee fathers, if you will. He scooped up the old Bird application for enough money to, you know, feed a small country. I'm of course talking about Elon Musk, Hitlerite himself. So besides posting Facebook memes and AI slop of himself looking way more attractive than he actually is, what has he actually done for Twitter? The site has essentially started pushing right-wing talking points everywhere. Now, I know that's not inherently a bad thing for many of you. Yeah, and I'm actually fine with conservatives being on the same app as me, even if I hate them and want to lightly flick them all on the foreheads. The issue is, these aren't regular right-wing accounts being pushed. It's not like your uncle that just says he wants less taxes without realizing that he's not in a tax bracket that would get less taxes. These are like grifters. These are people that make money off of being Republican. And I know many of you are saying that, well, Democrats get money off of that too. Well, yeah. Wait till you hear how much I hate them too. Essentially, it's a bunch of culture war bullshit. I mean, I could not tell you a single policy that Libs of TikTok is actually pushing for. If anyone can tell me what end wokeness stands for beyond just the kind of general ending of wokeness, that'd be great, I guess. I don't know, it wouldn't. The point is, beyond trying to end sex ed for children because Republicans are weird and want to make sure that children don't understand what sexual assault is, they don't really do much on Twitter except for cry a lot. They all push identity politics bullshit to try and shy away from the fact that they're crumbling at the seams. Now, I know many of you are thinking a lot of that sounds pretty innocuous, and you're not completely wrong. Like, a lot of this harm is not a direct thing, but I do think it's important to mention that all that's being pushed is essentially ideas that play into things like the white replacement theory. You know, like the whole, this club that was built because white people excluded black people now excludes white people. And then eventually that leads to them just doing straight up racism, as we'll see. Now, I can tell that maybe you're still not completely on board with this. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, these guys seem like assholes, but whatever. I don't really care that much, and I cannot fault you. But what I can fault you for is if you can somehow explain away the newest right-wing talking point. All right, so here's a quick warning. I'm gonna be having to show a lot of horrible ideas against immigrants, although I'm sure many of you understood that coming in because, well, you clicked on the video. All right, so I think that should be fine for you now. If you don't want to hear racism, don't know why you clicked on a video about racism, but all right. Okay, so just in case you've been living under a rock for the past few months, or you're in the future, so this is just another one of those things conservatives talked about that seemed important in the moment, but looking back on it, you're like, why the fuck was that ever a thing? I'm going to explain very quickly what was happening. Essentially, there was a relatively small town in Ohio called Springfield, just like The Simpsons. And they have a lot of jobs in like local produce packaging and machining factories, and a bunch of shit like that. Because of this, a lot of immigrants, mainly Haitian, started going to these job openings because they're pretty entry-level jobs. When Haitians came into our country, a lot of them were told to go to Springfield because there was a lot of job openings. And they were told that they would get jobs and there was interpreters up there. And essentially they'd get settled in America and all that. So as the initial wave of Haitians came in, inevitably, as happens, more people wanted to come in because a lot of these people have families. So are you going to go to an area where no one speaks your language? Or if they speak your language not well, or are you going to go to a town that has a large population of people that are like you? All right, so nothing crazy yet, right? I mean, like, talking about legal immigration at a trickling we're talking about legal immigration at a trickling pace since like 2017. And, you know, all of the conclusions are fairly reasonable, you know. They're coming in, they're taking jobs that were already open, and they're working them. And the only reason why a majority of them are going to this town is because they want to be near people like them. So the question is, as the time of recording this, there's about 15,000 Haitians living in Springfield, Ohio. So what's the problem? Well, I'm going to disprove a couple things that may not inherently be rooted in xenophobia or racism, even if there's some underlying ideas there. You know, benefit of the doubt type of thing. So maybe if you're thinking that the problem has nothing to do with their culture and more so just to do with the influx of new people. So maybe the small town has become way too crowded, and because of that, the people around there don't like that. And while that's not a great reason to scapegoat immigrants, it's at least a reason beyond just straight up xenophobia. So I know many of you are thinking, well, more people move in, less jobs, less resources, right? You're wrong. I knew the answer. I don't know why you would fucking debate on that. Now I hear you pushing up your fucking nerd glasses, 4 eyes, and going, Xander, how do you know that? All right, so I'm not going to deny that there is a struggle for the people of Springfield, just as I would not deny that there is a struggle for anyone that's just fucking poor. But I think pinning that on the immigrants is just plain stupidity. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. Springfield, as a town, has lost about 1/4 of its population since the 1960s. And that is in fact the only reason why the Haitian immigrants were told to go there, because there was excess housing and excess jobs in said area. Well, you may be thinking, well, that doesn't stop rent prices from increasing. You're right, but how in the world is that on the fucking Haitians? If you're living in an apartment, or even just like a rent-controlled house, right? And the rent gets raised, the problem isn't the immigrants coming in, it's your fucking landlord. Why would you blame them and not the people raising your rent for no reason? See, the thing is that if you truly think this is an issue, which is fair, you know, people deserve a place to live, then don't complain about immigration. Complain about lack of regulation on landlords, which would be something conservatives are against because they hate regulation. So all you're really advocating for is America should just have less people. So I suppose when it comes to the complaint department, those are the only ideas that I could imagine one having without them being completely racist, right? So we disproved that they have an absurd amount of people for the amount of resources. And we disproved the fact that any of this is the immigrants' fault. So what are we left with here? If the economic issues mainly stem from the GOP and not the Democrats, I suppose we have to look into what the actual complaints are beyond economics. So I'm just gonna look online here. I mean, I can't come up with any. Good God.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating...
I'm going to be honest, I don't know how anyone hears this and their bullshit detector isn't immediately just going in fucking circles, going crazy. I mean, I know there's a lot of AI pictures of Trump picking up cats and running with them. But, you know, personally, that would not qualify as evidence in my book, but, you know, we're all different. All right, so we have to see where this stems from. Have there been any legitimate reports of Haitian immigrants eating people's pets? I've seen some videos with people going to town hall meetings with nondescript anecdotes about just amorphous Haitians eating someone's pet.
They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them.
There's that one guy that looks like Mario. God, conservatism is fucking awesome. But proof. That's what the logical conservative mind wants. None of this feelings bullshit. that us leftists always talk about. Listen, leftists are stupid babies that care if people are sad, while conservatives care about facts. So let's dive into the facts. Here's a damning image of a guy carrying a goose. Clearly of someone's pet goose. Disgusting. How dare he move that goose? I mean, according to authorities, he was just moving roadkill off the road, but... Alright, listen, maybe there's more. Alright, well, here's a real video of a lady eating a cat. Now that's scary, right? Except that lady's an American, and that's also in Canton, not Springfield. They're two different places. Alright, here's the more damning evidence. Here's a video of a couple people saying they saw a van going around grabbing cats.
There was Haitians in a white van driving around the neighborhoods, collecting cats, skinning them and eating them.
In my opinion, they're worthless. Bunch of worthless fucking sand monkeys.
That holds up in a court. Wait a second, liberals. What about this video from a year ago? There's this super pixelated video of a guy barbecuing something, and you can't see what it is, and then the guy behind the camera just says it's dog.
Yo, what is this they got on the grill?
Is that you think it's cats?
Man, listen, man. There go a cat right there. His ass better get missing, man. Look like his homies on the grill, man. What the fuck?
Yep. There's also some photos of mutilated cats and dogs, although authorities say it was most likely coyotes. There's also a video of a guy from Bosnia cooking what looks like a goat or a lamb to me, but the guy behind the camera says it's a dog.
We thought we'd record the fact that our Bosnian neighbors are barbecuing a dog.
Also, I'm pretty sure Bosnia is not in Haiti, but maybe I'm dumb, I don't know. There's also been no credible reports of pets being stolen in Springfield. Alright, so what the fuck? What is any of this? Why is this a thing? There's nothing even here that would constitute even building a rumor off of. And yet Donald fucking Trump parroted this on live TV on a fucking presidential debate. I don't even know what to say. It's very stupid. Okay. So, why did I do any of this? Why did I spend so much time disproving the most obvious hoaxes that we've ever known to man? I mean, obviously some part of it was some sort of like cathartic yelling therapy, but beyond that, what was the reason? I suppose, overall, my point is just confirmation bias, propaganda, and its effects on the American populace. Now, I don't know if you guys heard this. Some pretty underground info I'm going to give you here. But Donald Trump won the presidency. Now, there are a myriad of reasons that I may go into on later videos, depending on how interested I am in this. But for our purposes in this video, I'm going to be talking about why the effects of this specific issue got so big. Because as much as anyone on the left loves to do infighting about what the real problem was, we can all essentially agree that immigration is something that we lost on. I mean, there's several studies about this, but essentially the majority of what you'll see is that most Americans believed that immigration numbers should be reduced, even if they still believe that immigration overall is a positive thing. It's very easy to assume that everyone that voted for Trump or wanted these stricter immigration laws was some alt-right conspiracy theorist, and I wouldn't even blame you. But the truth is that a lot of them were moderate, or at least what you would consider moderate in relative terms to American politics. The truth is the majority of these voter bases have fallen to some degree to the lies being pushed by Trump and Vance. And you may be saying, well, no, most moderates I know, or at least in the polls, have shown that they don't think Haitians are eating dogs and eating cats. But the truth is that they never needed you to believe the dramatization. Most people understood that Trump is a theatrical guy. I mean, he just loves musical theater, and that's so funny. But beyond that, we know that he talks a lot. But the truth is that they didn't believe that he was just straight up lying. They just believed he was hyperbolic. And when the issue is being conceded to by the Democrats, when the left is essentially telling them, and when I say the left, I mean Democrats, not leftists. When the relative left is essentially conceding on the point of a stricter border, it's a losing battle. When both parties are bringing up this non-existent issue, and the populace only believes that one side is going to be truly strict about said issue because the Democrats are in power right now, then what's going to happen is that no one's going to vote for the party they believe won't actually solve it, no matter how much you talk about on TV that you want a stricter border. And you're also just going to lose a shit ton of people that actually agreed with you that there isn't a problem. This is just a convoluted way of me saying that you can't out-Republican a Republican, no matter how hard you try to kind of go to the middle or a little bit to the right to kind of just swoop up voters. All that's happening is that people don't fucking believe you. Because the Republicans are just going to keep on going further right. Although I think on the camera it might be, I don't know. All that's going to happen is that people are still going to believe the issue. They're not going to believe the far right propaganda that's being spread. But they are going to believe that there's still an underlying issue and that only one party would solve it. Now you might be saying, Xander, I don't believe that. Well, Trump is fucking president, you dumbass. What the fuck are you talking about? I win. Now, I personally waited on this video for a couple of reasons, but one of the big ones was I wanted to see what would happen when Trump got in office. I understand that there is merit in making a prediction, but I really wanted to see any of the things that I thought would happen happening because I wanted to make sure I was right. And listen, to a degree, I'm glad I did because my ideas about Trump and the Republican Party's constant dehumanization of immigrants was just proven right and right again and again. And to be honest, I kind of feel a little vindicated. But despite that personal victory of feeling like a smart cookie, just the hottest guy on campus, fuck, it sucks. I kind of wish I was wrong. I kind of wish I had to scrap this video. Okay, not kinda, I fully wish that the dehumanization of people was not as effective as it is. In Trump's first week of presidency, now I'm going to read this directly off of here so I don't forget, because this is a long-ass fucking list. Elon doing a Nazi salute. Trump designated there being an invasion across the southern border. Military personnel are now allowed to act as border enforcement. Refugee arrivals have stopped and the U.S. refugee admission program has been suspended for a minimum of 90 days. He redefined birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment. A Trump order asserts that a child born in the U.S. is not a citizen if 1. The mother does not have legal immigration status or is in the country illegally but only temporarily, and 2. The father is not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. The order forbids U.S. agencies from issuing any document recognizing such a child as a citizen or accept any state document recognizing citizenship. We are now starting construction on a wall-like structure in the South. He forbid immigrants from staying in the U.S. while waiting for immigration court proceedings, ended so-called family reunification programs that allow family members of certain citizens and permanent resident immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to come to the U.S. while their visa applications are still pending. All immigrants under temporary protected status are being reviewed. paused distribution of federal money to non-governmental organizations supporting or providing services either directly or indirectly to removable or illegal aliens, pending reviews and audits to identify any operations that may promote or facilitate violations of our immigration laws, and ICE is now allowed to conduct raids in public schools. Oh my God. Now keep in mind, with everything I just listed, that is all relatively unbiased language that Trump himself used. If I was going to paraphrase it, I would be saying them for the crimes they are. But even with me not doing that, it is so fucking obvious how horrible all of that is, or at least I would hope it is to anyone watching this. Unfortunately, this is not the end or even close to it. This is just the beginning of the Trump presidency. All of this is essentially just setting up the next round of mass deportations of legal and illegal immigrants alike. We are going to see essentially legal and illegal immigrants, citizens and non-citizens, deported en masse as soon as he sees fit. Now, I know all of you are probably not, dare I say, happy after hearing all of that. And it makes sense. It's extremely disheartening, everything I just listed. And I guess you're probably just wondering what to do with any of this information. Well, I'm going to put you into two separate camps, so please do so with your big brain, all right? Understand the political spectrum and find yourself. If you're relatively on the left, just keep on doing what you've been doing, assuming that you've been doing things that you haven't. Start. Attend protests, have conversations with people, donate to reputable organizations. And I think the main thing is just don't allow yourself to fall victim to the doomer mindset. I think one of the worst things we can do right now is just kind of get into the mindset that we're all fucked, so nothing is worth it anyway. The only way to get through this is by going through it. And I think the worst thing you can do right now is just give up. Republicans that have gotten to this point in the video without screaming at me because I have pronouns in one of my bios or something. I do actually appreciate you listening, or I hope you were listening. In spite of my lighthearted jabs and sometimes less lighthearted jabs because I disagree with you fundamentally. All I ask is that you look at all the information I've laid out for you and you just truly reflect on it. Look at the blatant propaganda that is being spread. Look at the sources I have in my description. Go over the section where I talk about all the fucked up shit he's gonna do based upon the fake propaganda that he was pushing earlier. And just reevaluate your positions. All I'm asking you is to simply put yourself in the shoes of someone that is going to be victimized by this. Because these aren't random people. These aren't numbers on a sheet. These are going to be a surprising amount of your neighbors, a surprising amount of people you know, a surprising amount of people that maybe you don't know that well, but you know them. They're going to be deported. They're going to be hurt and victimized by this presidency. And you're going to be hurt by this presidency. Listen, before you go, all I'm asking at this point is a simple exercise in empathy. I burped. All right, yeah, you're human. I know that sounds simple, but I feel like a lot of people don't actually grasp that, for lack of a better word. I feel like there's this general idea that every person you interact with, at least online, or that you don't see personally, has this sense of malice or ill intent behind their actions and words. And I know this might seem a bit like a weird transition, but I'm just asking you to stick with me for a little bit. I do think that this example is one of the best showings of how propaganda can be spread among average people. And, to a degree, I know Republicans are not going to like it when I say this, but fascism. There is quite literally not a single credible source for the entire Haitian immigrant story. And yet the GOP felt comfortable enough completely running on it, and they were right. They won. And I think beyond the obvious good of disproving lies and things that are untrue, I do think there is a cautionary tale to be told here. And I know it may be hard to think about, but a lot of these people spreading these horrible ideas and lying without even a modicum of regret. They're human. They have people they care about. They have lives. And that's insane to think about. I'm not saying that you have to show these people some sort of compassion that you're not getting shown from them. I think it's completely fine if you see a racist person and you point at them and you go, racist, geek, and maybe some harsher words. But I'm just trying to let you know that this is how fascism and bigotry is spread. Not through you necessarily, and I don't think it's by insulting a racist, but that the racist at one point was compassionate, or at least has the same built-in structure for compassion. There aren't people that are born with certain biases or moralities. I think it's important to recognize that to a large degree, humans are a product of their environment and what they're raised around. The worst parts of the most depraved are also within you. And I think without proper self-reflection and constant self-regulation, we all fall to the risk of becoming, at the bare minimum, a bystander to a fascist state. I can tell you're not convinced completely. Or maybe you are, but I want to speak longer, so fuck off. I just want to make sure that what I'm saying is absolutely clear. And then you can feel free to disagree with me or gas me up. In order to do this, and to get my point across, I'm going to read something that I wrote a few months ago. It's going to be a little long and maybe a little boring, but if you've stuck with the video this long, all I'm asking is just a little bit more time for me able to get this through, and then you can leave. To start off this excerpt, I want to make it clear that this is not inherently academic writing. There are going to be several assertions made upon ideas that are backed up. I may have sources for further reading cited, but overall this is a general philosophy built off of observations I have come to rather than empirical evidence. To extend these brief caveats to the validity of my views, I want to make it clear that while I will try to be articulate, I find little to no value in following some sort of set of rules of formality in this writing. As a reader, I hope that you find my candor on these possible objections somewhat endearing. So what does being human mean? I don't necessarily mean this in a literal sense, even if I find the search for that definition valuable as well, but I mean more in an abstract value kind of way. Clearly, if you are reading this, there is a defining connection in our humanity. But what does this mean in actually conducting our lives? This is going to be the basis of this writing and what I am going to try and assert. I believe that while most people exhibit empathy, I don't believe it is just a feeling, but it is an action. Sociopaths are viewed as people that cannot practice empathy, and several neurodivergent people are seen as relatively disabled by the lack of social awareness. But these things can clearly be learned and worked with to be better. The problem with this is that neurotypical people are not expected to try and grow that empathy past the basic point. If you ask the majority of people what empathy is, they would most likely give an answer that revolves around relatability and the compassion that it brings. You see a person going through a hard time, so you can empathize and feel bad for them. While this is an important aspect of empathy, I think it overlooks a large portion of the power in relatability as a concept and how it can be practically used to help make decisions and political alignments. To illustrate my point, allow me to paint a picture. You see a woman on the side of the road with a broken down car who looks downtrodden. The most obvious emotional response to this is a broad sense of sadness for the person you are seeing. Now imagine instead that the woman is your past high school bully. Even if you believe that you should feel bad to an extent, there would be also a bit of dissonance between you two there. The relatability in this instant is almost completely contingent on the person being above a certain threshold of goodness. While the difference in the amount of empathy provided may not seem drastic, this idea can be extended to far larger differences. Both of the instances with the woman involve with her being in a bad spot, a perceivable state of being. You saw a woman, you could assume how she would feel, you were prompted to relate to her, but there are a couple other ways where I think empathy can be explicitly worked on in a meaningful way, and I will list them as such. 1. People you do not currently perceive, and 2. People that are considered morally abhorrent. As for the first point, I will try to keep this brief. Every day you pass by possibly dozens to hundreds of people. Some may stand out in some significant way, and others may not even cross your mind. This is a large step in becoming a more empathetic and humble person. For this mental exercise, you do not even need to leave the house. I want you to try and imagine the face of someone you passed recently. Someone you paid little to no attention to. Think about how their face was morphed, what expression was illustrated on their face, what assumptions you would put onto them based on their appearance. Think about them going home, texting people, scrolling social media, doing mundane chores. I want you to do this whenever you have time. Take the time to do nothing but let your mind wander about a stranger's life. It doesn't even have to be for a very long time. Now, what was the point of this? Whenever we are in discussions with people, there tends to be an other, a group of people we can separate ourselves from. I don't think this is necessarily done maliciously. It can often be done just for simplicity's sake. We are animals, and it's easiest to view things in categories and patterns. It's hard to view other people as people. While I don't think you have to change your language to stop from completely generalizing anyone, I'm guilty of it too, I do think it is important that for any worldview to be grounded, we need to understand the differences inside groups. There are in-groups upon in-groups until we get to individuals that can be grouped up infinitely in separate characteristics and beliefs, and this makes us both perfectly unique and part of this amorphous blob called humanity. The point of recognizing the humanity in someone, so inconsequential to you, is to remember that any worldview you build upon statistics is not a statistic. People are not numbers on a sheet. They are people. And even if that may be hard to visualize on a constant and practical everyday basis, for any point of change you want to make in the world, this view will be a good start, lest someone else mistake your life as just another number. The latter point, relating to the morally abhorrent, is one that I want to be careful in pursuing. The last thing I want is for someone to feel as if I'm excusing the bad behaviors of people. For the general, everyday, practical use, people have autonomy and their bad actions should be criticized as such. The more controversial point I want to make is that everyone is a part of a context of the world they were put in. This may not seem controversial, but acknowledging that Hitler was just a man is a subject that many people can get touchy about, for a good reason too. The last thing you want to think about is that arguably the most evil person in history has some connecting framework to every human. He had emotions, he was raised a certain way, he had people he cared about, he had days where he just couldn't get out of bed. This is the issue that people come into contact with. When you start to humanize people, it can seem like you're trying to excuse their actions. You can come off as dishonest and manipulative to try and make someone feel bad or relate to genuine evil. But I promise this is for the betterment of you, not the defense of dictators. Within your psyche are the same emotions that can be preyed upon and exasperated in bigotry. Often people say that humans are not born racist, and this is true in a vacuum. But a child raised around hate is much more likely to be hateful. Hitler was not the only cause of Germany's actions in World War II. He was a symptom of years of anti-Semitism and resentment growing in the region. Now, obviously, the average person is not going to become a genocidal fascist leader, but average people do lead to larger environments of hate. Political and economic distress leads to tribalistic behaviors and blaming certain groups. To push this point further, do you think Hitler thought he was genuinely an evil person? Do you think he woke up every morning and went, "Time to go continue doing evil because I just enjoy being a bad person"? No one thinks that they are evil and just does evil things for no reasons. Those reasons for evil are not good, of course, but this is all to point out that everyone is their own protagonist. You have learned that racism, fascism, bigotry are bad words, so you feel that you could never be that. You have to distance yourself from the possibility, even if you were saying or doing abhorrent things. But this is the wrong way to go about it. It is your duty to constantly look at yourself and your own worldviews. You must self-reflect and stop yourself from becoming complacent enough to allow hate to spread. Sorry if I mispronounced this, Eger once wrote that we each have a Nazi within. Edith's point is not that you are a Nazi, but that the seeds of hate are there in every human. Under a different context, you could be a part of a horrible regime or even just a bystander. And if you are not willing to understand that, then you could be a part of the next atrocity. You are not inherently good. You are not inherently above bigotry. It is possible for you to fall into propaganda, and that change is not always obvious. The reason I humanize these horrible people is not to excuse them, but rather to make sure that you understand that these aren't monsters created in a lab. They were humans raised in contexts that other people contributed to, and they slowly became more radicalized over a long period of time. And without properly looking at yourself and questioning your own beliefs, without listening to detractors, when you slowly start to deny all evidence that points against you, that is when the Nazi within you is now you. Because you weren't born a Nazi, you became one. And now the people that you hate are being crushed under your thumb, but you don't care. You forgot that they are human. You are human. Oh my god, what a long and boring video, right? This is my second time filming the outro because this fucker kept on hitting the mic and it seems I didn't learn my lesson from the first time I filmed. I want to thank you so much for watching. This is the first time that I've made a video of this length or this in depth. and I think it's a very important topic, so if you stuck along for this long, I really do appreciate it. And you know what? If you like the video, just go ahead and freaking subscribe, man. Hit that bell. Why don't you? Hit the freaking like button. Hit the dang like button. Beyond subscribing, if you want to keep up with me, I will have my social medias. The editor's putting them somewhere on the screen right now. Don't know where. I mainly am very active on Twitter, but if I get more followers in other places, I will post there more often as well. And also the links to the social media are all in the description. Right now, the plan is just like releasing a video once a month. We'll see how well I keep up with that, but that's my goal at least. Might do more than that in 1 month if I feel like it, who knows. And it's typically going to be more towards the end of the month because I'm a procrastinator. But obviously, if you want to stay more up to date, follow the social medias or subscribe or whatever. I said this earlier in the video, but for anyone that wants to follow up on anything I talked about, I have all my sources in the description. I wasn't just showing like blocks of text with no context. I promise that they're all sourced, and you can check them out if you want. They're not going to be put in super obvious order or anything, but you can look at the URL and see what it is. It's not very hard. I'm also going to link that end part in like a text form, because I know it's hard with any type of lengthy text when it's being read to you to not have the text in front of you. So if you care enough, you can look at that. If not, no BFD, dude.
Oh yeah.
There isn't much different from the spoken version to the written version. The written version has like a short epilogue where it clarifies a few things, mainly just that I really want to make it clear that I am not saying that any bad person should be absolved of their issues. It's more so saying that you need to self-reflect to make sure you don't become a bad person or even a bystander in a bad state. But yeah, other than that, it's basically the same. But yeah, I am new to this, so the only way I know that you guys like this is by any type of feedback, whether that be on my social medias or right here. So any of that is very much appreciated. Anyways, I want to thank you all for watching once again. I love you. You specifically, I can see you through the screen and I like what I'm seeing. Very attractive. Great job on sitting there. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video when I get hit by a car. What happened? You don't know. All right, bye.